to you about that.
Yes.
I'm glad that you're having me here. We are doing some great things in Mecklenburg County. And what I wanted to do was to tell that story. What is it that we've done well? What things are we preparing to do in the next year? And what kinds of things we're going to accomplish? And my main message, Paul, was that we have the tools, all the tools that we need to make this community great. Now what we need to do is just do the things that we know we need to do to make this a strong community, to give everybody access to prosperity.
One of the strong points that you made address to is our revenue.
Yes.
What's our status as of right now?
So right now, because of construction growth, because of increases in property values, we're seeing our tax revenues actually be beyond our budget, more than we thought we would get, which is good.
Correct.
Sales tax revenue is doing well because people are feeling better about the economy, so they're purchasing things and paying sales tax and doing that, and we got pretty good revenue. So we're in a pretty good shape in terms of our tax revenue, and what that means is that we're going to be able to take care of the things that we need to take care of, and maybe start to, do a little more to help people.
I know we're having a lot of businesses coming to our community. One, Charlotte Knights. What has the Charlotte Knight done for our revenue?
Well, it's been great. It's part of that sales tax revenue I talked to you about. And what's wonderful about the Charlotte Knights being in Charlotte is that it allows you to go to a baseball game on a beautiful summer evening just right in uptown Charlotte. And 600,000 people did that this year.
Correct.
So it was great. We had great attendance. And what that means too, Paul, is that when you're downtown, you're going to be purchasing things. You're going to be helping those businesses that are around the ballpark in the evenings that maybe you otherwise wouldn't have been doing. And so it has been a great thing for uptown Charlotte for us to have the Charlotte Knights there. And of course, right next to the ballpark is the Romare Bearden Park.
Correct.
Which we are very, very proud of. It is really a crown jewel of our whole park system and certainly of uptown. So it's been a big, big positive for us.
What's the issue on the Chiquita company?
Well, as sometimes happens, companies either get sold or they have business changes that result in them leaving our community.
Correct.
And that's what happened with Chiquita. They had a company that purchased them, a company out of Brazil, I think, that purchased them and decided to move out of Charlotte. That happens. We have to be prepared for that to happen. Now, the good thing about that is all of the tax money that we paid to bring them here and that we expended, they're going to pay it all back. So we're not going to be out one penny because of Chiquita. It is unfortunate that they are leaving, but business changes happen. Not all businesses succeed, not all businesses stay in business. But the point of the matter is that the taxpayers are not going to be paying one penny because of Chiquita leaving.
I know we're doing a lot of construction. You see it when you go uptown, you see it out of town.
Yes, sir.
What's the benefit of having all this construction?
Well, I think, Paul, what it means is that we are doing well.
Correct.
As a community. When you see all that construction, because you remember in the recession, we didn't have much construction at all. And so when you see all that happening, you know that the economy is getting better. You know that people are feeling better about the economy. So I think that's good. It's a good indication that things are going well. Much of the construction has been apartments and condos, sort of multifamily buildings. There's been some commercial construction as well. So what we're probably going to see is that will level off at some point, and we'll start to see some other kind of development. You're seeing it happen in different areas like North Tryon with those two condo towers sort of at 9th Street between 10th.
Correct.
You're seeing it there. You're seeing it off Stonewall. So what you're seeing is areas of the uptown area being filled in. And I think that's going to be great for all of us. And so imagine all of these folks who are going to be living uptown Charlotte, living, not just visiting, but living in uptown Charlotte, It's going to be huge for the economy of Uptown. And what that'll do is allow us to expand the central business district, and it'll allow us to, again, continue to improve economic activity in our county. So I think it's a great sign that things are doing well.
Mm. The 485 construction,
Mm-hmm.
how is that coming along?
Well, that's a lot of that is a city issue, but what I
Okay.
understand is that, or more a state issue really, but what I understand is that we are looking at options.
Okay.
So you saw that 485 was expanded,
Correct.
but there's that one lane on each side that seems like it's not being used, and it's not being used. What I understand is that that is supposed to be a high occupancy lane or some other kind of lane that's not a general purpose lane at some point.
Okay.
They're not ready for that to happen. So we wind up with this empty lane, and I know I drive 485 every day.
Correct.
So I see that lane, I say, why can't we use this extra lane? But apparently there are some federal rules, there are some state rules that right now prohibit us from using that lane. But I think people are working on it and trying to see how we can use those extra lanes on 485. So that's dealing with the south part. My understanding is that the completion of 485 is very near.
Okay.
It's been a long time coming.
Correct.
But I understand it's very, very close. So I'll be just as happy as you when they finish 485.
Do you think there's a possibility we might have like a toll on one of those?
Well, I don't know about 485.
Okay.
Although I have heard some talk that there would be a toll on some portions of 485.
Correct.
I've heard that talk. I don't know what the status of it is, but I have heard that. On 77, there is, the plan is to have tolls on 77, and I think that toll road would connect with 485, as it completes around the community. I think where 77 goes past 485, I think that part of it will be a toll road.
Mm-hmm.
So they're coming. And the thing about tolls is it's kind of a choice.
Correct.
If we want the expansion of the road, we're going to have to pay for it, and there's just no money to pay for it. So the only option we have really is to have a toll road, because if we don't have a toll road, we won't get an expansion of these roads for 20 or 30 years. And I don't know that people want to wait that long to accommodate the growth in our area.
That's true. We have the Carolina Panthers, the Charlotte Hornets, and now the Charlotte Knights. They all are having good seasons.
Yes.
What does that say about the city of Charlotte?
Well, remember, having professional sports teams really says something about your city. It says that you're able to attract businesses, you're able to attract people, because people just like to be part of a city that has so many things to do. And having an NFL team or having an NBA team in your city really puts you at the top of cities across the country, indeed across the world. So what it is, again, Paul, I think is a symbol of how Charlotte is moving ahead. And we are being thought of truly as a world-class city. And people say, that's just a bunch of boosterism, that's just a bunch of, puffery. But it's really true. So there was a study, I can't remember who did it, but there was a study that looked at the 100 top cities in the world. You know where Charlotte landed on that list? Number 33 in the world. So this is huge. We are really being thought of as a top city. And so what that means is that we've got to continue to work to keep our city strong, to keep prosperity for everybody. And I think we're doing that. At least we're trying to do that with all the things that we're doing, including having professional sports teams.
One of the things that you discussed in the state of your message is the rate of poverty in Mecklenburg County.
Yes.
Where is it at right now, and how do we go about improving it?
Well, Paul, you're right. I talked about it this year and I
Correct.
talked about it last year. And what I mentioned was a study that was done that showed that the Charlotte Mecklenburg metropolitan area was rated 50 out of 50 when it came to lack of social mobility, economic mobility, and concentrations of poverty. In other words, we have more concentrated poverty in Mecklenburg County than many other cities throughout the country.
Correct.
We have more concentrated poverty in Mecklenburg County than other counties throughout the state of North Carolina. And you think, all this prosperity we have, how in the world do we have this kind of poverty? But the fact of the matter is that we do. We can't let that continue because what will happen is all of this prosperity that we see, that we're so proud of, all of it will have been built on a foundation of sand if we don't address the problem of economic deprivation or poverty. So, and poverty is not just a problem for people who are poor, it's a problem for all of us.
Correct.
And I believe we need to solve that. Jesus said the poor will always be with us, and that's true. But we also have an obligation to care for those who can't care for themselves or who don't have the tools to be able to care for themselves. That's our obligation. And I believe that we are worth nothing if we don't take care of those who can't take care of themselves. So what that means, Paul, is that we've got to build bridges between those who have it better and those who don't. It means that we have to provide access to health care for all. It means that we have to create jobs for people so that they are not dependent on government. So you asked me about what the rate is. What we know is that 25%, almost 25% of our population receives some service from the County Department of Social Services. That's almost 250,000 people who receive some services from our Social Services Department. That's way, way too many.
Correct.
So what we need to do, I believe, is have a partnership between the public sector and the private sector to create jobs for people, to get people to the point where they are self-sufficient, not dependent on government. Because if we do that, we will wind up reducing our tax burden. So everybody, we hear a lot, I'm a Democrat, and I hear from Republicans a lot that they want to reduce taxes.
Correct.
And I say, well, if you are caring for people, that by itself is going to reduce your tax burden. Rather than simply cutting off funds from government because you think people, you're passing judgment on people because you think they're not doing what they should be doing. Well, what you should be doing is helping them be self-sufficient. Because if you do that, then if you have a job, you can support your family. And by doing that, you buy goods and services in the economy. Everybody benefits versus simply cutting taxes and letting people fend for themselves. So what I was talking about in the state of the county is how we can help people. Because if we help people, we help ourselves. That's my view.
The health care. How is that coming along, and why is there so many people that's against the Obamacare?
Well, the name they use, Obamacare,
Correct.
they use it as a negative term. So the notion of being able to have access to affordable health care just seems to me a basic kind of thing. Why would you oppose that? And they say, Republicans who oppose the Affordable Care Act, they say, well, there's a better way to do it. Yet, in all the time we've talked about it, not one proposal has come from any Republican to replace the Affordable Care Act. So my point is the Affordable Care Act is working. People are getting affordable health insurance. The cost of health care is beginning to stabilize. That was the whole point. So why would we undo that just because of a political desire to oppose a president who has, I think, will be found to be one of the most successful presidents in history. So let me say that again. I think President Obama will be seen in history as one of the most successful presidents in history, despite all of the opposition that he has faced, and he has faced a lot of opposition. He still has gotten so many things done during his presidency, and I think the Affordable Care Act was one of the top ones. I'm proud of it.
Mr. Fuller, we're going to go into a break. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back on the Paul Brown Show. Welcome back on the show. My guest, Mr. Trevor Fuller. Mr. Fuller, this is your second term on the Mecklenburg County Board of County Commissioners and the chairman. What do you base your success on?
Well, Paul, I've always felt, both in my law practice for 22 years and here in government service, that if you help people, if you really are truly about helping people, everything else is going to work itself out. I've always believed that, and it's always been the case. So I focused from my first day in office on doing things that help people, that help my community, that help those who need help, to help us to continue to grow. And I think by focusing on that, you tend to make good decisions.
Correct.
And I've tried to make good decisions. Haven't always been successful, but I think overall, I have been pretty successful at continuing to do things that help people. And so now, as the chair of the board, what I tell people is that I'm trying to make sure we get to the vote. That's what I mean. So the county commission only acts when they vote on something.
Right.
So we can have all the conversation we want, we can do all the political posturing we want, but at the end of the day, it comes down to voting. So my job as chairman is to keep us moving forward, keep us getting to the vote, making sure everybody has their chance to say whatever it is they need to say, to make whatever points they want to make. And I want to be as transparent and as open as I can be to allow that to happen. But at the end of the day, we've got to vote. We've got to get things done for people. And I believe that I have done that, and I hope people perceive it that way as well.
You're doing a great job, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate
and I applaud you for all the outstanding job that not only yourself, but the other commissioners are doing for our community.
Absolutely.
When do you meet, and why should we get more involved in the meetings that the commissioners have?
Well, thanks for asking that. So we meet on every first and third Tuesday of the month for our regular meetings. On the second Tuesday of the month, we will have a budget and public policy meeting. And in those meetings, we'll talk about a particular subject at length. So if it's about